Hi, moms, and welcome back for another episode of Moms with Moms. Moms offering mom support with moms on microphones. If you're new here, make sure you grab something to drink because that's what we do here. We sip our favorite drink, whatever it is, and we talk about taboo things in pregnancy, postpartum, and parenthood. Tonight we have a full house. So, Jordyn, as you guys know, Jordyn's my friend. So, Jordyn decided she wanted to come on with me today because we were talking about it and we stalked a little bit of Shaw-chin. She's actually an author of Integrating Me in Motherhood, and it talks about postpartum and how to be a mom. And we just were really impressed with her. So, Jordyn's like, oh my God, I'm coming on. And I said, obviously, of course.
Yes, thank
So
you
thank
so
you,
much for
Shaw-chin.
having me.
Obviously, you're always welcome. And Shaw-chin, thank you so much for being so cool to be able to willing to come on and talk to us. So tell us a little about yourself. What are 3 things that our listeners should know about you?
First of all, thank you so much for having me on this call. I just absolutely love just chatting with other moms. It's that keeps me connected to everyone
Mhm.
else out there who's feeling what I'm feeling. I know
Absolutely.
I'm not that crazy. 3 things about me that most people don't know. You already talked about me being an author. I'm actually also working on my second book now, and it's
Ooh.
about modern parenting, if you will, and the different styles of parenting that's out there. More so about raising a kid. Could be on your own, it could be with same sex, or could be how you live together and raise your child together. Definitely not like a psychologist, a child psychologist, not about that, but more so the idea of how do you co-parent or single parent,
Yeah.
or with the fact that you also have to work, or you have these new obligations now as a woman, having a full-time career or having a life outside of just being a mom, right? And so that's what the second book is all about. And secondly, I'm also an executive with IBM. So I lead our entire, state of California portfolio and have a whole team
Ooh.
here. I live in San Diego, and I go between San Diego and Sacramento every single week.
Wow.
And then thirdly, I guess an avid athlete. So I love running. I love exercising. I work out every single day, which is really just an outlet for my stress. I used to be a fitness
Absolutely.
instructor for like 12 years while I was going to, grad school and working at the same time. And so that just, took a toll on itself because I was constantly traveling. So I've now channeled that energy not only to just take care of myself, but also helping to spread the health and wellness, if you will,
Yeah.
message to moms, because it's more holistic than just exercising, right? There's a huge mental wellness component of it. There's a huge emotional regulation component of it. It's a huge understanding of all of the different things that drive meaning to your life. And so it's a lot more of a holistic approach to health and wellness than where I started 20 years ago, if you will, in the fitness industry. So those are the 3 major things about me.
Great. Shaw-chin, I actually just want to jump in real quick. It sounds like you really have your life together.
Yeah.
Has
Oh
it
God.
always been like when you first, kind of had your daughter, has it always been that you've just been able to kind of tackle everything, or was it a little bit of a struggle at some point?
Oh, totally a struggle. So I didn't know I wanted to have a kid until all of a sudden I just got this like biological clock bug at like early 30s. And I was like, oh my God, I really want to desperately have a kid. Right. And as long story short, the person I was with at the time, who wasn't into kids, I was like, well, this is not going to work. I guess, I'm going to have to either do this myself or find someone else. And so, anyways, eventually I ended up where I'm at now. And at the time, I was just like, I mean, working 80-hour work weeks. And as I was having, thinking about having a kid, I was like, how the hell am I going to do this? Like, I
Yeah.
should life, right? And actually, when I got pregnant, I had just made partner at IBM, and being in the executive ranks, there's kind of an expectation of higher performance and so forth. And I was very hesitant to tell anyone that I was pregnant because I didn't want them to feel like I was disabled. And I told one of my mentors, who is the one of the most, senior executives in IBM, and she was like, know yourself, like know what you're, know who you are right now, know what value you bring to the table, know your limitations, and know when to say no, and communicate what those things are to other people. And don't limit yourself if you don't feel like you're limited at any point. And when you do feel like you're limited, because we will go through those things. We've all given birth and realized, oh my gosh, like there's a lot of stuff happening down there that I didn't think was gonna happen. And all these hormones came out of nowhere, right? Like you'll
Yep.
know when those limitations are. And it's just a matter of like connecting with who you are and your body and really taking the time to understand what's happening to you internally. And so I've always I internalized that. I was only like 2 months pregnant at the time. I eventually used that courage to just tell everybody that I was pregnant. And I was like, oh, this wasn't so bad, and they didn't look at me as disabled because I knew my value and I continued to deliver my value, continue to deliver my value today. And today I live by it. I'm very vocal about what it is I can and can't do. Like at 4:30, I say I can't go past 4:30. I've already worked, since 5 a.m. So 4:30, I'm done. Like I am basically with my kid. I may check my email later on just to see where things are. But I am very clear to everybody. This is my no-go zone. I'm very clear that the weekends are mine. I am really good at delegating now. I'm really good, which was very different than what I had before. I'm really good at focusing now, which is, I used to, we're all constantly like, but I used to just explore every spectrum out there. Now I'm like, I gotta really focus on the things that'll give me the highest return, right? And actually, it's helped out my team significantly. And now we're very, very focused, which has increased our chances of successes in so many different things. And so all of that to say, there's a lot going on, but I think it was never easy, and it's never easy now. Like like you said, when you first had your kid, I was like, I definitely felt lonely, and I definitely felt like,
Yeah.
my God, I'm losing myself, and I was this badass before I became a mom, and now I have no idea what's happening to me. I'm in diapers constantly, along with my kid, in diapers constantly. I can barely sleep. I can barely think, right? And you kind of get through that hump after a few months, and then you realize, oh shoot, I have to get myself back and like, just slowly rebuild. And you realize, you know what? My goal should not be to get myself back. My goal should be to define who I need to be for myself and for my family and what I care about the most, right? And that has just created a whole different outlook entirely, but all just coming back to the core message of just knowing what you want, knowing who you are, knowing where you're at, knowing what your limitations are, knowing when to say no, and then use that to just like continue to, feel the everyday and leverage the people around you, which help is so critical, right? To be able to do as much as you can every day. And just know we're all struggling through the same thing. It may look like we got it together. Oh, we don't.
Yeah.
I
I'm sick
really
every
I
other
really
week.
liked how you mentioned that as like a first time mom, and I'm sure Jordyn, you felt this too. Everybody talks about like the loss of identity and who you are and trying to
Mhm.
find that person back. And people keep focusing on like, how do I get that person back? But rather, you kind of did a different approach and you said, nope, that person's gone. There's a whole new version of me that I need to
Yeah.
continue to create and continue to explore. And I think that's really important for moms to know that like you can mourn your old self, but mourn it because they're dead, basically. Like I
Mhm.
like that because it's then that you're not focusing on getting that person back because you do.
Right.
It's a rebirthing of you too, not just your baby.
Right. Exactly. You hit it spot on. It's like use it as an opportunity to like redefine who you want to be, right? And there's certain milestones along the way, like you graduate from college. That's when you're like, oh shoot, I gotta really figure this out. Like I can't be stuck on this college kid like living off of mac and cheese. Like I really have to figure my shit out, right? Like that's a milestone. We're now in a whole new milestone of becoming a different human, and using that opportunity to say, all right, what do I want to become, right? And
Yeah.
the beauty of where you're at now in this milestone is you got this like higher sense of purpose that you never had before, right? This human who's like life depends on you. And so it forces you to think bigger because it's now not just about you, it's about you and them, right? To your point, definitely a time of and a really great opportunity to transform again.
Yep.
Mhm.
And kind of like going off what you said earlier, I just feel in general, I don't know if either of you agree with me, but this world was not made for working moms or stay-at-home moms.
No.
It's kind of just you have to do what works best for you because
Mhm.
you can't do anything to make everyone happy. So you kind of just have to go with like what works for you and your family and how you can be the best you.
And it's important to note that because I think too many people, not really people, I think too many moms compare their life to others and forget that your life is completely different. So, what
Right,
you choose to do and how you choose to either stay home, either work, either stay home and work, like you do what works for you. And it doesn't matter what another person's doing. Ask them for advice 100%. But if you don't like that advice, don't take it. And it's okay. Don't do what they're doing. Do what works best
right,
for you.
right, exactly. And I think I want to hit on exactly what you were mentioning earlier in terms of the working environment is not made for working moms to be successful. And it's
No,
amazing, right? Like there's a work, when have you ever heard of a man who has a kid being referred to as a working dad? You always
never.
hear working mom, right? There's a realization that the career environment and like the professional environment needs to change so that these other really smart humans who are half of the population can participate when they have kids, right? And so in IBM, we actually did a study. I don't know if you guys have heard of Chief, but Chief is a network of executive women, and essentially you get selected to be a part of those, part of the network. But they did a study with IBM, and they realized that it's probably a 10-year or so horizon until there's a significant change to support working moms. There has been a significant change with COVID to allow for that kind of hybrid environment. So an
Yes.
acknowledgement that there is life outside of work, right? That was like the biggest breakthrough, was just the realization that people are human and that they have these lives outside of work, whether it be kids or it could be taking care of a loved one, an elderly, because we all have these other responsibilities in that regard too. And it's about, oh my gosh, I got to change things up, so that we have more flexibility in the workplace so that people can tend to these other needs outside of work versus that they're these robots that we have to, work like crazy. And so it has given that kind of normalization of
Yeah.
more of that flexible work, and it's created that demand, especially as like a essential need for employers to build into their work culture so that they can attract people. And it helps to have a very low unemployment rate right now, right? Because the low unemployment rate continues to push that need of like flexible work,
Yeah.
because our Gen Zers have grown up in that in the last few years as they were entering the workforce. So they feel like that's the normal, right? And so for employers to try to bring them into the workforce, they have to change up the way they operate. And so you're seeing a huge shift in the way our clients work, our employers work in order to accommodate for that flexible work. The problem, though, is the level of expectation and the perception that employers still have for working moms. And so what that means is the same study, right? And they found that even though all of this now awareness of these responsibilities outside of work and awareness that women actually carry most of those responsibilities, it was still a perception that from male managers, about 41% believed that working moms didn't work as much as working dads, and that they didn't contribute as much to the working environment as working dads, right? And it's contrary to, if you look at the outcomes from the same study, it's actually better for an organization to have working moms, right? Because it's probably because they come in with a different way of thinking. They think about grooming people as people, right? And the people side of things versus men typically mentor people from a career, purely from a career standpoint, right? And the reality is the empathy and the connection and the people skills is what makes you successful as a leader, right? And then there's also the diversity in the way they think that creates more inclusivity of this broader population, just half of the population that's missing out there from any of the business outcomes that they're trying to achieve, that's left on the table because they're not bringing that thinking into the table, right? And so that was one other realization. And then finally, the last point I wanted to make was around the expectation, in that when, although it's good when you go out on leave, women typically get paid family leave, which is awesome. Like, we've made huge strides to give women paid family leave to take care of their child. But there's also kind of a downside that it's created, where it's created a perception that that is the primary role of the woman, is to take care of the kid, right?
Well, kind of, something that you said that stood out to me right away was that I had fully intended to go back to work. I have worked in higher education for over 4 years once I had my son, but my son had health issues. So it was never an expectation that my husband would stay home with him. It was always,
Mhm.
oh, someone can't go back to work. It's definitely going to be Jordyn. It's the mom. And
Mhm.
that's exactly what happened. And it kind of put my career a little bit on a standstill.
Mhm.
I don't regret it because someone had to do it, and I had a great opportunity to spend more time with my child. And my husband is a great partner and has been able to provide, but it was never even a thought that, oh, hey, maybe Josh will stay home with the baby. No, it was
Mhm.
and from
Yeah.
the whole time.
Yep.
I also want to talk about too is piggying back of like when you say that it's not made for working moms and businesses really need to be more mindful of like life. So
Mhm.
I've been a hardworking person and I've worked, Jordyn knows, I work a lot. I work 5 jobs. So I'm doing an internship next year for my school. And while I was in the interview process, I interviewed for 4 different places until I found the one that was actually perfect. But I never thought in a million years when I was asked, what do you need from us? And I said to them, I said, I need you to understand that I am a mom first. You guys will not be first. I will work my butt off for you when I'm here, but my kid
Mhm.
comes first. So if he's sick or he needs me, I will work from home when I can, or I need to switch schedules. And there was 2 places. I don't want to name their names just in case they watch this, but there was 2 places that were just kind of like, oh well, I'm not sure if we can like accommodate that. Like we have these hours and that's it. And I'm like, okay, well, that's not going to work for me. And then there was 2 other places that were like, oh my gosh, absolutely, we'll find stuff for you to do at home if he's sick. And it's important for businesses to understand that. Like if you want to keep a mom and a working hard mom, there are going to be times where you're going to have to be like, okay, you need to be out sick or you need to be home for the day because your kid is sick. Like
Mhm.
the US just needs to understand that. We can still be working moms. Like we can do just as good of a job at home taking care of our kid for a day if they need it than we could if we
Mhm.
were in the office. I'm not saying we need
Right.
to be home 24/7, but there's going to need to be some flexibility in addition to the hybrid schedule. Like in addition to that, like, hey, nope, I need to come in at 10 o'clock today because like parent presentation or whatever that they do. I will come in at 10 because I want to go and attend that. So they really need to
Mhm.
understand in order to keep your employees, make your employees happy, work-life balance needs to be considered mom life balance and dad life balance.
Well, I also
Yeah.
think that a lot of employers and companies, and just people in general, think that parents, or especially moms, when they're working, are not going to give 100%. And that's also not true
Mm-mm.
because, whenever I'm doing something else, I always give it 110. But that also means there will be times that I'm going to have to put my child first. I think that a lot of people don't realize that you can do both.
Mm-hmm. And so it's interesting, right? Like, we have seen the evolution of what's called the whole person care. And so when you look at healthcare, there's been a huge shift to an outcomes focused whole person care, where it is everything from financial to social to mental to health. And it wasn't, it's not just health anymore, right? And you're starting to see that shift when you're looking at rehabilitation when it comes to justice involved populations, right? It's like you got to take care of that whole human when when you give him back to society. And when you're looking at moms, right, I think that is, and actually employers, COVID did bring that realization a little bit more into the
Yeah.
fold. Like, wow, there's this whole human that is involved in the delivery of that unit of work day in and day out, right? Because like we shifted significantly from like the industrial age where we had machines and now the humans taking over a unit of work, and the humans and the machines were still kind of interchangeable in that regard. They didn't have any feelings, they didn't have anything else outside of that, right? And then COVID happened, and then all of a sudden, wow, like removed the covers of, and this like brought this like secret forward that we're all actually humans. And so as a result of that, right, just like we do with a machine where it needs to be tuned, it needs to have oil, it needs to have fuel in order to run appropriately. That's how humans are, right? We need to tend to all of these needs that make us whole humans. So it could be taking care of your family so that that level of stress goes down, and then you feel that connection because it brings you that happiness. It could be being a part of a band. So one other thing that I do is I play piano, I play music, because it just gives me a different sense of like relaxation. I spend time with my girlfriends because it's just a different level of belonging, right? And all of those things I need to tend to so that I can be a whole human, and
Yes.
that, that I can deliver my best self at work. With parenting, as a mom or a dad, if you are not whole outside of work and you're not tending to the things that are going to either drive more stress or things that drive more meaning and happiness to your life, so that when you come to work, you're this more fulfilled human who can just optimally deliver whatever is happening in front of her. That is what we need to drive more towards. So I'm glad that employers are starting to shift that way, but they need to
Yeah.
just keep that at the forefront, that you need to drive whole employees as well, versus just that machine. They're all humans that have multi-dimensional things going for them that keep them happy and the most, optimal human when they come to work.
100%. If they don't, then, like you said, people are going to have those mental health crises and something's going to
Yeah,
give. And nine times
exactly.
out of 10, they're going to find new placement or they're going to
Yep.
quit their job.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or they're gonna blow up at work and you're like, whoa,
Yeah.
what happened? Oops.
So I know your book talks a lot about integrating like motherhood and everything. And one of the things that I did see that it mentions is it talks a little bit about postpartum.
Hmm.
And we talked a little bit about this before we started really talking about things. So, what would be some of your advice about moms that are maybe struggling with postpartum and they're in the rucks by themselves and they don't have the support? What advice would you give to them?
First, you gotta reach out, because I know it's really hard. And if, and there's a little bit of like, I guess in some cases, pride, because you're like, you're supposed to, oh, there, you're supposed to do it all yourself, right? Like my mom did it all herself. So there's a level of pride that might prevent you from doing that. There's also just like nervousness of like, well, what if they don't like me? You just don't know where to start because there's like a lot of people around you, and you're just like, how do I even start to connect? I'm telling you, it is so critical to reach out and just, I feel like there's three levels of connection. One is your immediate family, either your spouse or your sisters or your mom or dad. Like those are individuals who are just like gun ho. They will jump in and help you. They are just waiting for you to ask them, right? And they're like, they want to prove themselves because they had this whole life with you, and they're like, please take me, but so you don't know that, but they are like on the heels ready for you to say please help, right? The second one is like your friends, And they're also the same way because you're friends with them for a reason, right? They like you like to do good things for your friends, vice versa. And sometimes you're like, oh, I'm gonna inconvenience them. No, they want your call. Like they literally do because it's like a time where they could do something good for you, right? Outside of Christmas and Thanksgiving, like all the holidays, or they're like, wow, I could be a friend to you. You want me to take care of your kid? Yeah, sure. Bring him on by, or I'll pick him up, whatever works for you, right? They want to be that. And then there's also all these other people on the periphery who are going through the same thing you are. And the reality is they all feel the same way. Like every single one of them, every single mom out there like feels exactly how you feel, which is the reason why when I started the Badass Moms community, BAMS, right, in Little Italy, it was just my desperation of just creating that network because like my family lives 8 hours away from me. My immediate friends are just spread throughout the US, and I didn't have anyone close by but my husband. And you can't talk to him about stuff happening in your body as much.
Right.
He just goes over his head a lot, right? And he doesn't understand my like up and down emotions constantly, right?
Nope.
So that's
Nope.
where I started creating this network. I swear to God, I know it's like super uncomfortable, like the first meeting or first like person I walked up to. I was like, hey, how old's your baby? Like, and then, but she immediately like talked back, like, oh yeah, my baby's like, a few months. I'm like, oh, my baby is too. And then we just started talking. And then I was like, we should connect. And they're like, yes, we should. Like every other woman is just as desperate as you. I swear to God, like
Yes.
9 times out of 10, they want you to reach out. They want you to connect with them. And they're just as scared of like, reaching out as you are. And so create that network outside of like your immediate circle because like that is just a very fulfilling network. Connection is one thing. Second thing is definitely take care of yourself. And ask for the help, like with your immediate people, whoever you can, who you can, outsource some of that time so that you get a few hours back to yourself so that you can sleep, or you can go to the gym, or so you go get your hair done or your nails done, or just connect with your friends and just get out and be by yourself. Like that is very important. If you can't take care of yourself first, you cannot take care of anyone else around you, right? Your kid's going to feel your energy. I swear they do.
Yeah.
Your spouse is going to feel your energy, so they don't want to be around you. Take care of yourself. That is so important. And then the third most important thing is, like you said earlier, right? It is very important to still want and pursue the things that are outside of being a mom. You went through at least 20 years of your life without a kid. So you were a whole human before you had a kid, right? And then you had a kid, and then all of a sudden that whole human is like non-existent anymore. But that whole human is craving to be a whole human still, regardless of whether you're a kid or not, you have a kid or not. But the beauty is you do have a kid now. So now you have a whole new dimension that you can incorporate into this human that, approaches life. So don't lose sight of like that human that is like craving a higher being besides just having a kid, right? Like there's other things that make you happy, like singing or dancing or being challenged at work or, starting a podcast, right? There's other things that give you that kind of purpose that you should still pursue. And it's very critical that you do that. So again, community, ask for help, build it, make sure that you take care of yourself, and then, know that you're more than just a mom. And not that
Yep.
being a mom is a bad thing by itself, but like pursue that whole human.
I remember feeling so guilty the first time that I left my son for like a long period of time.
Yeah.
And because I was like really happy about it. I was going to class. I'm going to get my master's in school counseling. So I went to class. I had real adult interaction and connection. And for the first time in a long time, I wasn't talking about my child. I was talking about something completely different. And I remember sitting there and feeling guilty because I was like, I'm really enjoying this.
Yeah.
But looking back, it's something that I completely needed. I had to accept that there are different parts of me. Yes, I'm a mom, but I'm also a student and I'm an intern and I'm a good friend and I'm a sister and a wife and I'm an employee, all these different things that kind of work together. Like, we don't have to feel guilty that we need to take breaks from other parts of us at times. So I'm really
Mhm.
glad that you mentioned that, because that was one of the biggest things for postpartum. Like, one of the biggest issues I had was feeling guilty that I couldn't be around my child 24/7 and be yay, 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 happy go lucky about it. Sometimes I needed a break, especially in postpartum. That's not talked about a lot. Everyone thinks like, oh, like you should be extremely happy to be with your kid all the time. And not that, I wasn't, but at times I really needed to focus on the other parts of me too.
Yeah,
Well, and I
absolutely.
also think it's I know I already talked about mourning your old self, but I used to love working out. I used to diet hardcore, and I wouldn't even say diet, but I counted macros. I was really awesome with like prepping my meals and doing everything. I loved lifting weights. I have tried since I got cleared to get back into it, and I don't have that passion anymore. And it's very different for me. It's not to me, it's not enjoyable anymore because I can't focus on my workout. I'm constantly thinking about I'm exhausted and I really can't get an effective workout because I'm so tired. Two, I'm worried about is the baby gonna wake up in the middle of my workout? Like that's gonna throw me off completely. I can't think about the number of sets I'm on because it's like my brain's thinking about, okay, I have this amount of time until the baby wakes up. Or after I finish my workout, I gotta go make dinner or something. So that to me, that piece of me is completely gone. And it took me such a long time to accept the fact because I was a big person who counted macros, worked out regularly. I was going to do a beach body competition. Like that was my life. And now I finally have accepted the fact that like that's not my passion anymore and it's okay. I
Yeah,
don't have the passion to do it. Doesn't mean I'm not going to do it at some point in my life again. But that I think is important too is like if you used to be a mom that worked out, it's okay if
yeah,
that doesn't work for you anymore.
yeah,
It doesn't mean
exactly.
you're not going to do it eventually, but it's not me.
And I feel like we all go through a different um phase in our life, right? Like when I was younger, I was a big dancer. So as a Polynesian, we have, we're raised on dancing. And so that was like my workout, right? I was like a dancer. And then that evolved eventually to when I was in college, I realized, oh, I need to do something differently. So I really got into, I was a fitness instructor, and that's where I got into that. And then I loved classes. I don't do classes anymore. Like I'm not a class person anymore. Because I like the flexibility of doing something whenever you can squeeze it in,
Yeah.
right? Which is much different than where I was then. And I evolved at the time. I was dating someone who was an Iron Man. And so I got into that. I sold my bike as soon as like my kid was born because I was like, I'm never gonna get on that bike. Like because I am probably going to get hurt, and my kid is like not going to have a very healthy, mom in her life, right? Because I had gotten into accidents before, so I was like into triathlons. I was doing all of these long, rides. I was doing all these like crazy things, and but then as soon as I had a kid, I like rethought the whole thing. I don't like classes. I don't like triathlons, right? The kind of workouts that I do is what I can squeeze in. And
Yep.
so my focus now is a lot on eating healthier, not because I'm trying to lose weight or anything like that, but because it helps me fight like mommy brain. I still have hormone imbalances. And so I can't, and all of a sudden I have all of these allergies, which I never had before. I swear, like having a kid just F's up your body,
Messes
right?
your whole body.
Really think about what I eat. I do intermittent fasting. I've always done that for like years, but now I do like a little bit of a variation to that where I'll introduce fruits a little bit earlier on once I break my fast, and my fasts aren't as long as it used to be. And so it's more focused on food than it is about like crazy workouts, like constantly. And then changing up, I am not a fast runner anymore. Like I used to like, do sub 6 miles and sub 6 like
Yep.
miles. Now I'm like I got a nice 10-minute mile run, 10-minute per mile. It's like, and I squeezed in what I could, while the kid was napping. And so it's a very different, like to your point, like we all go through, have kids or not, our bodies are just going to gravitate towards different things over time. And it's just a matter of listening to your body and then just ensuring there is an outlet for it. You just have to evolve and with your body, right? But ultimately, I think listen to your body and feed it what it needs to in order to be at its optimal state.
I'll be
100%.
completely honest. My workout right now is chasing around a crawling 11-year-old and holding 25 pounds when he doesn't
Yeah,
want to go down
exactly.
himself.
Oh my gosh. I totally get it. I totally get it.
Yeah.
Yep, pretty much. And
It's a
bringing down
very
the
common
laundry basket
conversation.
pretty much every single day because we do laundry every day. So bringing
Yeah,
it up and down the stairs.
exactly. Squat down, put this down, put it back up. You're going up and down, up and down.
Pretty much. Pretty much. That's so
Yeah.
My final question would be where can like people find your book? And I know
yeah.
that you're releasing
Amazon. Yep. Yep.
Amazon.
You get it on Amazon, and then the Audible will be out this summer. It's so funny. Like,
Ooh.
I'm in tech, and so there's like this great like Gen AI tool that allows you to just put a little bit of a snippet of your voice, and then it reads the whole book for you. So I was like, oh, I got this down. I can release my Audible in no time. And they're like, no, it has to be your voice and you reading it. I was like, word by word. Because you're constantly thinking of these like knickknacks to be efficient as with your time as a mom, and they're
You're like,
like,
I
no,
have to
word
give
by
the whole
word. So I was
book.
like, okay, well, I'm gonna take my time to release my Audible book, so it'll be out later in the
Yeah.
year.
Oh, that's awesome. That's
That is
great.
super exciting. Congratulations. That is really
Thank
awesome.
you, thank you.
I love to read, and as soon as like read your bio and everything, I said this is definitely the right book and person for me because I connected with you immediately. You're very easy to connect with, and I
Oh,
think
thank
that
Agreed.
you're
you.
extremely relatable, and you've been super open and welcoming with us. So I'm just really happy that I got to connect with you and meet with you. And I'm adding you to my network because I need more moms, and so now I have moms on the East Coast.
Oh, yeah. Wait, where are
Oh,
you guys
West
based
Coast.
out of?
You're on the West Coast, right?
Yes, yes. Where are you guys based out of?
New York.
New York. All right.
Yes. See, I don't know
So
enough,
it's
but
actually funny. I'm going to mention this because I don't think anybody knows about it. In the capital region, you created for you guys down in San Diego, California, you created Badass Moms.
Uh-huh.
I created Moms, which is moms offering mom support. And it's like
Yeah,
a mentoring program for new moms. So if
I
you are
love
in the
it.
capital region and you're watching this episode, there is a mom network for you guys. It is
Oh, I love
completely
it.
free.
I love it.
You just have to go to one of my Instagram page or my Facebook page and you just click on the link and you can sign up for it. It is literally completely free.
I
You'll get
love
linked
it.
up with a mom who has similar personalities to you so you don't feel alone. This can also go for
So
anybody
critical.
all over the US too. So like you can do it. Just be mindful that right now I only have people in the capital region that are mommy volunteers. Your mom and you want to volunteer, let me know and we can put you on that. So absolutely,
God,
this
I
is a
love
free
it.
service. It's via phone, text message, email, phone call, whatever you prefer. So you are not alone in this. But
I
also,
love it. I love it. You guys are doing exactly what I want more moms to do, right? So
thank
that
you.
we're such a strong, powerful network.
Yeah.
And I always tell people, so I ended up starting like, and I'm in the process of getting it launched. It's called Everyday Badass Moms, but it's just moms, right? Just any mom.
Ooh,
But it's like Everyday Badass Moms, right? Just like brand that I've got a few things that are happening around because we just have to deal with so much in our lives that if you just hear a mom describe her life, like her everyday life, it's like, dang, you do a lot, right? Like,
yes.
yeah.
Yes.
and it feels like you're not doing enough or you're not like, doing what you need to do. But if you just listen to what you do every single day, waking up early, fixing breakfasts, then putting them to bed, then doing the laundry, then dropping them off, and then thinking about what they have to do so that they're developmentally like stimulated, and then it's like
Working,
it's a lot
providing for your
of
family,
work, right?
making a
Like
grocery list, figuring out what
exactly.
everybody's gonna eat for the rest of the week.
Really, only
Right.
moms
I'm
would
like,
understand, to be honest. And
yeah,
moms who
only
are
moms will understand.
so
Exactly.
I feel like you talk with moms and like you automatically like disconnect and you can laugh about things because
Mhm.
Totally.
that. Like literally, I right before this was asking Courtney, I was like, "What are you wearing?" Because I'm like just feeling like I want to be like comfortable right now. And she like sent me that she was wearing something like this at Mama Bear, and I said, I'm gonna be funny. I literally went and made this sweater five
Like, yeah.
got on because I was like, let's just do something, throw it
Oh,
together.
that's so good.
So I created this because of this exact reason, is because there's so many taboo things that people literally don't talk about in parenthood. And I think the more things get talked about, the less anxiety we're going to see, the less
Yeah,
postpartum struggles, and the more moms are going to feel confident. And I think
right.
that's the biggest thing is the confidence of being a mom needs to
Yeah,
happen because then once you have that confidence, it's like, okay, this really isn't that bad. It's still going to be
yeah.
hard, but it's not going to be as difficult.
Yes.
So on that
Or
note,
cheer.
cheers.
Cheers. Oh, can I take a photo of this? I'm gonna take a photo of this. Hold
Yeah.
on.
Absolutely. Go right ahead.
All right, and cheers.
Cheers.
All right.
Love
Thank
it.
you. All right. Well, it was a pleasure talking to you both. I
Same.
cannot wait
I
to
followed you on
connect
Instagram,
again.
so I'll tag you when I do the reel. So that way it's on your
Awesome.
thing. Okay?
Yay. So much.
Awesome. No,
All right,
thank
mamas.
you.
Have a good night.
Thanks, you
Hopefully
too.
that's
Bye.
soothing for the rest of the night. All right, talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks, mamas, for tuning back for another episode of Moms with Moms. If you like this episode, make sure to hit the like button. And if you haven't subscribed, go subscribe right now. If you don't subscribe, you're not going to get notifications that a new episode dropped or a random video dropped because sometimes I drop some shorts here and there. And if you're on Instagram or Facebook, make sure to follow me. And if you're on TikTok and you want to see the filterless version of me, make sure you go follow my TikTok right now. I'm a lot cooler on TikTok too. And if you're a Spotify listener, make sure you hit the follow button. And every time a new episode drops, it'll pop up in the top of your Spotify. So that way you don't have to go and search for me when a new episode drops. And as always, moms, we're surviving and thriving because as moms, that's what we do. Bye, besties.